As a child, the magic of pro wrestling would come on my television every Monday night, and I would tune in with glee. My favorite character would beat up his boss, or a faction of bad guys would terrorize everybody. Pro wrestling was great, and I was hooked. So, what went wrong with WWE? WWE used to be must-see, can't-miss TV. During the Monday Night Wars, WWF at the time and WCW were competing for television ratings to see who was the best pro wrestling television show on Monday nights. WCW would win some, WWE would win some, but that was the joy of it. To stay relevant, the WWF had to introduce interesting characters and tell compelling stories. I could go into so many names and storylines that happened every week, but I won't. The point is to tell you that everyone, from the lowest guy on the roster to the main eventer, had something fascinating they were doing. Everyone was a character. Everyone had a story. Everyone was doing something that mattered. Eventually, due to poor management and the network not wanting wrestling on their television, WCW was sold. And who would go to buy it? But WWE. Some of the talent decided to let their contract play out, and some of them decided to come to WWE. After this, there was only one major pro wrestling company, the WWE. Having no competition on the main stage, WWE was forced to create their own. They introduced the brand split. They divided the roster in half and made it seem like the WWE shows Raw and SmackDown were competing to have the very best show. It worked. SmackDown had upped their game with the writing of Paul Heyman, the former owner of ECW, and fans were torn on which show was actually better. This was called the Ruthless Aggression Era. Some say that this was even better than the Attitude Era mentioned earlier. After a while, as WWE always does, the company got bored of it. They combined the two brands, ending the split. This created one roster of talent. They all wrestled on both shows. SmackDown then became an afterthought, and it was mostly a repeat of matches from Monday Night Raw. What goes around comes around. WWE eventually decided that they needed to do the brand split again. Raw and SmackDown were divided, and talent went all over the place. They have separate champions on both shows, and it worked. SmackDown again was becoming the best show, and it really did pay off. However, WWE could not keep this up. They shifted up creative people and the storylines suffered. They were producing content just to produce content. One or two things were great, but for the most part, it wasn't that good. Because WWE could see things weren't great, how are they going to fix this? The wild card rule. WWE introduced the wild card rule as a way for talent from Raw to show up on SmackDown or vice versa. It sounds cool. Like we could get dream matches that we would never get otherwise. This wasn't what was happening. You see, the same guys go from Raw to SmackDown, from SmackDown to Raw. Shane McMahon and Roman Reigns are on both shows all the time. The overexposure is real. The other major problem is that they have some of the best wrestlers in the world. Wait, what? That's bad? Yes. It's bad for the fact that they have so much good talent that the writers don't know how to create storylines for all of them. Back in the Attitude Era, everyone was doing something that mattered. It seemed like now they forget who even is on the roster. I know that everyone can't be a main eventer, but let them do something. Have it make sense. Another major issue is that WWE produces so much content that its fans can't even keep up. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, Main Event, 205 Live monthly pay-per-views, and tons more for the WWE network. It's just way too hard to keep track of. I know producing tons of content for a network has to be difficult, but they did this to themselves. There is only one solution, and it really sucks. Cut down the roster in half and keep them on separate brands. By doing this, you're only keeping the people that matter to the product and producing well thought out stories for the ones that are on TV. Having different brands lets people learn the characters and see them in intriguing programs. If you have so many good wrestlers, you can't possibly book them all on a show or even give them something interesting to do. At this point, it feels like WWE is just signing up all the talent so that no one else can use them.